If you're a nurse in Ghana, you would probably relate to this. Hello, hey, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Honey Cooks. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing my experience in relocating from Ghana as a registered nurse to the UK, where I currently work, and I'm just going to be sharing my experience, what I went through, and hopefully encourage someone who is on the same journey. So if this is something that interests you, then stay tuned. I am going to share my experience while I do my makeup. So I'm going to start by first priming my face. And yeah, I know some of you may have heard, may have seen, yeah, that I'm not in Ghana anymore. I am currently in the UK. I am currently in the UK working as a registered nurse. And I think it is not a secret anymore because a lot of international nurses or nurses from Africa are relocating to other countries like the UK, the US, Canada. Some are even going to Australia and New Zealand to work. So if you've not heard about this, I really don't know where you have been. You might have been living under a rock or something. As I said, I am doing this video basically just to share my experience as I went through with people and basically just to encourage you. So, first thing one may ask is what probably motivated me to even think of relocating. I have been in Ghana or working in Ghana for a nurse as long as 5 years, and where I used to work, I just wasn't getting any joy. By that I mean I was working in a popular senior high school. Not that I didn't love my job. I mean, I met very amazing students there, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But I realized that I was not gaining the experience that I needed to grow as a nurse. So yeah, experience is one of my main reasons for wanting to relocate, because I felt that moving elsewhere where I'll be able to learn more, I'll be able to do much more than I was doing. So yeah, that's what motivated me. Another reason why I decided to relocate is also because if you're a nurse in Ghana, you would probably relate to this. Oh, will you leave me alone? You probably relate to this, especially when you work in the Ghana Health Service. Let's say you want to further your education and probably specialize in some form of nursing specialty to get a steady leave to go to school. It's another story on its own, my dear. And even when you're due for steady leave, basically they will just, most of the reasons they will be given is that, oh, you came to meet someone and the person would have to go to school before you, that kind of thing. So after 5 years, I just knew that basically I was not going to get the opportunity to further my education if I wanted to. So relocating was the better option for me. So probably if you're in my situation and you want to go to school and you're not getting the opportunity, or you want to go to school with study leave and you're not getting the opportunity, I think that you should be considering relocating in that some period. Basically, that's my reason why I decided to relocate to the UK. One may also ask why I decided to choose the UK, because there were other options as the countries I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But I think personally, I chose the UK because I felt their process is more straightforward and more faster. But it took me to start it to know that it wasn't faster as I thought, because tell me why it took me over a year to get here. So yeah, it wasn't that fast as I thought. People are doing other countries I mentioned, and I decided to do the UK. And doing it made me realize that, oh, it wasn't the faster route after all. But you know what I have learned through all this is the fact that sometimes some people's goal is probably to go to the US. But because of how cumbersome the US process can be because of where you are located, they usually would use the UK route, and then when they get here, they'll, yeah, relocate to wherever they wanted to go, be Canada or the US. But for me, that wasn't it really. I wanted to come to the UK. I don't know if probably with years or with time I'll decide to go outside the UK. I don't really know what the future holds, but my goal was to come to the UK. With that out of the way, I will talk about my experiences and what I went through in coming here. So, first of all, I heard about this whole process way back in 2020, around when COVID had hit. And as at that time, a lot of people were already moving. And that was when I first heard about it. And I knew that the first thing you'd have to do is basically prepare, study, and register and write your IELTS and hopefully pass. It wasn't until the following year, that's 2021, when I finally wrote my IELTS. I I started getting serious about it the 2021 January. So yeah, because I realized someone that I used to work with had traveled and was here. Yeah, so that sort of is what moved me really, because I'm like, wow, it is actually real, because it was so close and I was seeing it that, yeah, this person that I know had traveled to the UK with the same process. So that's when it dawned on me that this is actually a serious thing. So I started to prepare for my IELTS in January 2021, but I seriously started active studies probably around March, April. That's when I was invested. I mean, trust me, I was waking up at dawn learning because I really wanted to pass this once and for all. For my eyeshadow, I am going to be using the Revolution palette. As I was saying, I finally got started active, serious learning in May, June, thereabouts. And that time I had registered to write it in July. So throughout the period of June, it was back to back learning because I needed to get this right. And mind you, it is not cheap money. Like paying for IELTS is actually very expensive. So you want to put in your best and write it once and for all, because you may not have that money to keep writing it. So that was my motivation. I was waking up at dawn, learning, just hoping that I'll write it once and only once. So in July, I went to write the IELTS, and nothing prepared me for what happened. So on the day that I wrote my IELTS, I did the paper based IELTS, not UKVI by IELTS standard. I did my listening, I think, first, and then I had done my speaking the week prior. So I did my listening first, I did my writing, and then reading was the last thing that I did. So, when you've done listening and writing, I was feeling myself like, Charlie, I was very confident that things are going well. So this one, the inshallah. And that was where the actual problem was. And I know reading seems to be a problem for most people, so I understand. When I finished writing that reading, well, I didn't cry, but I just knew that it will only take a miracle for something to happen. I remember so clearly that at a point, the I think the last bit of the whole question, I had to just be putting answers there because I just did not want to leave the space blank. I could not risk leaving the space blank. So I just had to put anything there. And when I finished with that paper, I just left the center where the exams is written. I was so crushed. Like I felt so terrible because now I wasn't sure whether I was going to pass or not. And I'll have to wait for 2 whole weeks for the results to come. That 2 weeks wasn't easy because I kept thinking about it and praying to God that God, please, please let this be the last time I'm writing this. I don't want to prepare and write again. And anytime I think, like I remember my heart, I just get anxious again because it wasn't easy. So after 2 weeks, the results came, and guess what? I had passed. And till now, it seems to be a miracle to me because I don't know how I managed that reading. I don't know. It is only God. It is only God. That's all that I can say. But yeah, I passed according to the UKNMC standard. So to start the foreign verification and registration with UKNMC, the first thing that I did was to do my clearance in Ghana. And I had served, as I said, for about 4 years. So when the results came in August, I went to do my clearance in November, I think. Yeah. And when you do your clearance in Ghana, MOH will now forward the clearance details to NMC Ghana. But in my case, I think previously they'll give you the clearance sheet and then you take it to NMC Ghana. I think that's what happened with me, if I remember correctly. So yeah, they cleared me. I took it and I went to NMC Ghana and started filling in forms and everything, hoping that by December they would have everything would have been sorted and I would have done my CBT. But it wasn't until January of the following year, which was January 2022, that the foreign verification went through and I wrote my IELTS, I think on January the 18th. Did I say IELTS? I wrote my CBT. So CBT was the easiest exams because it was objective structured exams and I felt it was easier. I know some people have rewritten CBT, but I guess I was fortunate because my time I wrote it once and I passed. I think for most people it's not that a difficult of an exam. But after CBT, that's when the real work begins. Now one may ask, what is the real work? The real work here is the application process. You applying for a job. It's a jungle out there. It is a proper jungle. Because I think people usually don't talk about that much, but applying for a job is usually very difficult. It is not straightforward. When I started applying for jobs, I first had to register with, the UK has a sort of a site where you could register and start applying for jobs because that's where they mostly advertise all their healthcare jobs. So I registered with it and I started with my application. I did over 100 applications and I am not even adding the ones that I did through emails because that one will even be more than what I did on track jobs. I did over 100 applications and I was not getting any response. I was getting frustrated because what was I doing wrong, or what was it that I was doing that made them saying, oh, unfortunately, we cannot. Like, I needed to understand. And some of the emails, I'll actually reply trying to understand, why are you rejecting me? Why are you rejecting? But anyway, they will not reply to those emails. It got to a point I was so frustrated that I stopped applying. Like, not that I stopped, but I just wasn't doing anything. I think for about 1 week because yeah, I was not seeing any positive feedback. And I was talking to a friend who was like friends who were already here and trying to tell them that this thing is not straightforward, or it's not easy. And well, what would they do? It's just to encourage you. So after about a week or so, I started again. And mind you, I started my application in January. Immediately I passed my CBT. I started. The whole of January, I didn't get anything. February, same. So the beginning of March is when I finally got one interview slot. And I was so happy and I prepared, but did that interview and I didn't hear anything back from these people. So yeah, obviously it meant that probably they weren't interested in me. So I didn't hear anything from them again. So I kept on applying. I kept on doing it. And then March 28th, I got an email that, yeah, I have to book an interview date for an interview, which I did. And I was successful with that interview. And I think by 31st of March, I got an email with a conditional offer telling me that, oh, I have been successful with my interview. But guess what? I did not stop applying. I was still doing application because, mind you, the goal in this whole process is to get what we call a COS, that's a certificate of sponsorship. And until you get it, you're not stopping. Yep, you're not stopping. So I kept on applying, and while I was doing that application anyway, my employer was asking of certain documents which I kept providing, but I was not stopping because I had not gotten what I needed to get. So yeah, that's what I kept doing. To avoid harsh lines, I am going back with the brush that I use in blending my concealer to just blend it into the cream contour. To compare that to that, you understand what I mean. So yeah, back to what I was saying. I kept applying, and you won't believe it. That was when I guess people or employers were now seeing that, oh, they had to give me a chance. I was getting interview slots all along, but I did interviews. I was successful with interviews and everything. I kept doing because as at that time I had still not received any COS from the first people. And I kept going on and on, to a point that I was even successful with some interviews and I was giving them documents alongside. Now, because I had gotten more than one successes, I needed to decide where I wanted to go. So that was where another problem arose. I know for some people they are not privileged to get more than one employer, but it doesn't mean that you don't take the opportunity that is presented to you. If it's only one that you get, make good use of it. So finally, in I think about June or no, May, I got my COS. So I knew that I had to stop any process I was with any of them. And mind you, I came with the first employer that I was successful with because I like where the location is at, and I felt that cost of living would be much better there than other parts. So yeah, after this, I kept getting interviews and I needed to put a stop to all other process because I had finally gotten my COS. So that's what you do. When you get your COS, you need to stop applying or you need to basically let other employers go. So when I got my COS, I first of all did my TB test, and which is also another process on its own. But yeah, I needed to do my TB test first before I applied for my visa. So that's what I did first. So using my Makeup Gallery Smooth Desert Powder, what I first do is I go in and I dust the excess off behind my hand, and then I tap it in like this. So after my TB test, I then applied for my visa, which took about 3 weeks to a month. And then I got an email that my visa was ready for collection. To give my eyes a little brightness, I am using the Juvia's Place loose powder. This is in the shade Kalahari, to basically brighten my under eye. So it's just the same process as I did with the other powder. I tap it off and then I go in. So when I got my visa approved, I was excited. I mean, it is a feeling everyone wants to get. But yeah, I was so excited. And when I finally got it in my hand, I knew it is time and then I am going. So after I got it, I immediately informed my employer that my visa was approved, and then they requested that I scan that and show them a copy. And after I did, I remember they asked me when I want to travel. I'm going to do my lashes off camera. I will be back. Do not go anywhere. All right, so welcome back from the commercial break. My lashes are fixed, so we can continue. So as I was saying, my employer then asked me when I wanted to travel, but at that time I was not ready. I had not really done any shopping, so I needed to start doing that. So I actually gave them, I think, about 3 weeks date from when they asked me to actually get myself together because I needed to start preparing finally. For my lips, I think I'm going to go with something nude. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that's what I want to go with. So I'm just using this brown liner. It's actually a brow pencil, but who cares? So after 3 weeks, I had to prepare myself. I had to inform my employer in Ghana that I'll be leaving soon and all that jazz. So that's how I finally prepared and I came. When I finally got here, that was about more than half of the work done. Now I needed to prepare to write my OSCE. And usually when you get here, your employer gives you some time, or depending on your employer, gives you some time to prepare for your OSCE. And in my case, that was what happened. And I prepared and wrote my OSCE to finally get the pin to practice as a UK registered nurse. And that's what happened. This is a lipstick I picked up from Primark. That was basically my experience in relocating to the UK. What I will say is that this process is not as easy as probably it may come across. We don't talk about it much, but it involves a lot. It involves a lot of money and time that you need to prepare yourself for. And one thing that I will add is this process is not easy without God, because personally, I actually had to pray and at some times, or yeah, at some point fast, because I really wanted this. So if that's what you need to do to get it, I think God is a prayer answering God, and He will definitely answer you according to His time, of course. I will also say that the experience I've had so far is good. And if for you this is something you're looking at doing or you've heard and considering of doing, I think that you should give it a try. You should give it your all. If you're already in this process and you're going about it and you feel that, oh, I'm tired, I'm not seeing any results, I just want to encourage you. I just want to tell you that keep going. It is all going to yield good results with time. Just have a little patience. Also, when you're frustrated or you're tired at any point in time, I would encourage you to just take a little bit of rest, but do not give up, because it is definitely worth it at the long run. So, thank you guys for watching this video and me sharing my experiences of relocating to the UK while doing my makeup. And I do hope that you subscribe to this channel, you like this video if you enjoyed it, and give me a comment down below. Also, if you are interested in me listing the step-by-step process of the whole thing, just let me know, and I don't mind doing another video explaining the step-by-step process involved. So thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you guys in another video. Bye.